have achieved great things today, Guardian. Don't you agree?
We have indeed, Supreme Mother. We have indeed.
So welcome to Series 3, Episode 1 of Conversations on Eagle Mountain, a podcast about the tribe. I'm your host Lance, and joining the podcast panel today is Liz.
Hello.
Sabine.
Hi.
And Colin.
What up?
With episode notes done by Matt and myself. So Series 3, Episode 1, the screenplay was done by Anthony Reed. It was directed by John Reed. And the episode synopsis was read out by myself. As the victorious Chosen occupy the mall, Tai San's refusal to acknowledge Zoot has consequences for the rest of the tribe. Meanwhile, Ebony comes to the aid of an injured Bray and Lex, but they're not out of the woods just yet.
That's the synopsis?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thought it would start off with something like everything has gone to they lost and the city's in ruins.
Pretty much.
After a hilarious go-karting accident, the Mallrats find themselves in a horrible predicament.
I mean, yeah, we're going to talk about that right now because the brand new season opens up with what I found was to be a very weird time disconnect. And it's unfortunately extends to the rest of this episode. So everyone has abandoned the beach, but the Chosen have sent 3 of their members to ensure that Bray and Lex did actually perish in that earlier buggy incident. And what makes it seem weirder is that they have reused shots of Ebony who's still up on the cliff overseeing everything, as if she was still there in the battle, like no time had passed. So, like with the most half-hearted checks done by the Chosen ever, Bray and Lex are pronounced as done for. I mean, yeah, what did you make of this opening scene to the brand new season?
Okay, and why are you such a horrible guard? Don't you see these people aren't dead?
It has its problems, definitely. I don't like that disconnect of like you said, why is Ebony still there if all the kids have cleared off? I don't understand why Luke would just send one Chosen over 10 feet. Like they walked that far, but they couldn't just walk the rest of the way. Luke proves himself to be smarter than that, more thorough, and that is like the laziest way to get Lex and Bray off the hook. I feel like you could have had the kid take his pulse and just be bad at that or something, People do that all the time, and it was just really, really lazy. I don't know why Luke would be like, oh, they look dead? Fine, that's good. I accept that. Yes, it's definitely one of the negatives, but I do think this is a better premiere than, say, season 2 was. But yeah.
I've never really had issues with Ebony still being there because we all know she doesn't really care for the rest of the Mallrats, except for maybe Alice. But yes, he would definitely still be there, watching what's going to happen to Bray and Lex, but waiting until the path was clear, because he looks after number 1, first and foremost. So I'm not surprised that she was waiting until all the Chosen had cleared off and she knew what would happen to Bray.
You've just highlighted exactly what was wrong with the scene. Because everyone's cleared off from the beach, like we assume everyone has gone, all the Chosen have retreated to the mall, and they've just left the buggy with Bray and Lex in it there. So Ebony had ample time to go down and check on them. But instead, like what the scene presents to us is that after they've headed back to the mall, then Luke and the tribe are sent to check on them. Like it's not like they were all there and then they just left Luke there to check because that would have taken 5 seconds. You know what I mean? It's very weird. I don't like how it's presented.
Yeah, it's very awkward.
I find it strange that she wasn't spotted up there. When you think about the logistics of them all down there, if she's so far away that they wouldn't have spotted her as all of the Chosen who were on the beach and on the cliffs cleared out, and we're talking a mass group of kids who were in vans and buggies and four-wheelers, and they were all over the place. They were on the cliffs. They were on the beach. And you're telling me not a single one of them spotted Ebony? Then that means she would have had to been too far away to even realize it was Bray and Lex in the dune buggy. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the logistics of it don't work for me. And I think I don't think it makes sense that she's still there because they just established she didn't give a crap about the Mallrats at all. So why is she waiting around to see what happens to the people who crashed? I just thought that was strange. Like, this is one of those times where we're going to see that they conveniently make Ebony have feelings for Bray just because they, didn't know what to do with her in the plot, even though they spent a big chunk of season 2 making it clear she didn't care because she was pissed off at them and didn't want to help. And I just don't understand why she suddenly has this change of heart and wants to see if they're okay. And yeah, it's shoddily, like, taped together, in my opinion, to get them where they need them to be.
Yeah, very awkward. Well, Liz, I still think season 2 season premiere is the greatest season premiere ever. But this one, it's just weird. It's actually just funny. After that hilarious Doom Buggy incident, I would imagine they all laughed and they left. That's why they left so fast and didn't really check on the bodies, because it was so funny. But the fact that I forgot his name. I know he has a name. The guy who checked their bodies.
Bane.
Yeah. It amazes me that he doesn't check for a pulse, or at least do like a little poke or something to confirm it. And isn't it like a chosen thing that they like take the dead bodies and burn it? Or maybe they don't. Maybe that's just for when they're alive.
No, just if you are a part of the group. Bray and Lex are nothing. They're not chosen. It's not until other comments are made that they even think about it.
That's interesting. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a missed opportunity. I feel like the Guardian, from what I've seen of him, would definitely love to take their dead bodies and like post it around the city or, do like a mass burning for everyone to see. Like, these are your leaders. Now they're dead. I don't know. I feel like that would make sense for them to show that. But again, Liz would just tell me this is the wrong show.
Yeah, it would have gone too far, keeping the age of the audience in mind, if Jaffa would have just put the heads of everyone he's beaten on a spear outside the mall, That would have been pushing it. Not saying he wouldn't like to, but...
It's just an example of the shortcut that they're going to start using more and more increasingly, especially in this season, to get the players where they want them to be. You have to let a lot slide. I get what they need to do. They need to get Bray, Lex, and Ebony together and establish that. But I just feel like there's a time in this writing that they would have put more effort into getting them there in a more believable way. And it's subtle. I guess it doesn't matter to some people, but it just becomes really noticeable to me, especially in this season. They take these sort of shortcuts and just let details slide more and more, and just keep plugging away at the story. And I don't know. But again, I do think it's better than season 2's opener.
If that's the case, then they should have just had them just drove off, not do this dumb crash at the end of season 2. I don't know why they would put that in there.
I guess it was for shock value. Leave season 2 with a bang and all that jazz.
What a weird bang, though. Everyone else laughed at that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think we were supposed to.
Yeah, so weird.
We were supposed to be worried about Bray and, Lex.
Yeah.
I remember watching it that night on YouTube. I almost spit out my water. It was that funny.
I think when they wrote it, they imagined it was meant to be really dramatic, and then when they filmed it, and it was edited together. Someone thought they did a great job. Somebody was really proud of that job. And they looked at the final picture and they were like, "Look at this." But it's not a bad cliffhanger; it's a good one. And they do pick right up where they left off. It's just, I don't know.
But for the age group that was the intended viewers, it works.
Yeah, it just feels like with each season, the age group is getting younger and younger, just slightly.
Yeah, it's just weird. They should have just had them drove off.
Yeah, but that wouldn't have given that sense of defeat to the Mallrats. It's...
I wish I could have directed season 3 or wrote it or something. This is where the writing really started to go off. They were giving us hints, like, get ready. Get ready for the headaches.
I was just thinking, this is kind of a symptom of like picking up a brand new season from a cliffhanger. Like, they're trying to continue directly from pieces that they left before, even though they might not have all the same actors, might not have all the same like story threads going through, and it doesn't always work, I feel. like, yeah, just having everyone suddenly abandoned from the beach, but then, like, but the Guardian wouldn't have left Bray's body. As we will see through the episode, the few episodes coming, he would not have left Bray just without even checking himself. It's just so weird. I don't know. It put me off.
In his position, it's beneath him to check that for himself, though.
Not Bray. Come on, what we see in the next few episodes.
Yeah, fair enough.
He would have checked, and it definitely would have let everyone leave the beach before checking.
I feel like I agree that he probably wouldn't, obviously it's beneath him to check Bray for himself, but I do agree. I have a hard time believing that he would just leave the beach and then send people back to the beach, which is why I always assumed that Luke and those other Chosen didn't go back, but were just waiting while everybody else cleared off. But again, I don't know, maybe it's just, I think it's just that, like Lance says, when you leave off on a cliffhanger, even a really good one, it can be hard to pick up, especially when you go with such a bang. It's like Annie Wilkes says in Misery, he didn't jump out of the cocky-doody car. You can't cheat the audience when you pick up from a cliffhanger, I guess. And I don't know, it has that same feeling that when they made the cliffhanger, they weren't sure where they were going to go next.
Yeah.
Like the cliffhanger was the end. That's where they wanted to get to. And they weren't sure where they were going to go next with it. And so the next idea, it just feels slightly jarring a little bit because it wasn't planned where they were going to go with it. And I don't know, again, it's not the worst. It's just, it does feel off. All the little logistics about it feel off.
Yeah, I do agree with you, though. I never had the feeling that they went back and that Luke and the other couple of guards just went to the beach after everyone went back to the mall. I always assumed they were somewhere around that beach. I mean, honestly, would they have let Trudy get on a horse with just the two people that were walking besides her? Someone must have guarded that side of the beach. I mean, she didn't drop out of thin air.
Is always a problem for the show. Every season premiere, except for the first one, feels a little bit jarring when you think about the season finale previous. There's always just something, even if they're done well, even if they're picking up the moment right after, which most of them are picking up right after the finale, there's always something that just doesn't quite feel right. There's always something that makes it's just noticeable that time has changed, time has passed, the seasons, everything, you can just tell. And there's just something in the storytelling that always gives it away. It never feels seamless,
There's one very obvious thing that changes between the cliffhanger and now, because, you can see there something changed, because when Trudy was on that beach, that was still old Brady. And when we get to her now, it's Georgia. On her first episode is Brady, and the Brady that will remain throughout the rest of the show.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
There's lots of changes. You can tell. Just the season, you can tell.
Yeah, there was so much time between the last episode and this episode, even in filming, that the other baby wasn't, small enough anymore.
Yeah, I think that's one big issue as well. You'll see it with the continuity as well. So that the character clothing and makeup is suddenly shifted, even though no time is supposed to have passed.
The bodies. Bring them to me.
But, Supreme Mother...
Now! Bray has the blood of Zoot in his veins. We can't just leave him there.
Very well.
Once they are back at the mall, the Guardian and the Supreme Mother hold the Mallrats in captivity, reveling in their victory and forcing Ellie to kneel. Lieutenant Luke arrives to confirm the so-called deaths of Bray and Lex. As Tai San grieves quietly for Lex, Trudy demands to see the bodies, justifying it to the Guardian by saying that Bray has the blood of Zoot in his veins and has to be brought back. So I wanted to talk about that. How did you react to the occupation of the mall and Trudy's demand to see Bray's dead body for herself?
You could just see the shock on her face. She had expected Luke to come back in there walking with Bray amongst them. And she just she just does not want to believe he's dead. And well, you see Tai San, instantly grieving. You see her just, she has to see it with her own eyes because she does not believe Bray can really be gone. As for the way she justifies it was good thinking because that's the only justifiable reason she can give for demanding to have his body there.
She seemed really surprised that they wouldn't bring the bodies back.
Yeah, that too.
I agree with you. I think she expected, Bray and Lex to be either tied up, dragged in with them, or at least be carried back or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just left him there? What the heck, Yeah, I think she handled that very well, considering she's not allowed to show how she really feels about anything with the Guardian breathing down her neck. She thought really quick about a justifiable reason for why Bray needed to be brought back. And I don't think it's surprising that she'd need to see him for herself. Even her acting the way she did last season, I never thought she didn't care about Bray at all, So I think that was handled fine.
Yeah, but I just love the looks between Trudy and the Guardian. Just, you can see the conversation and the thoughts going through Jaffa's head just by the way he looks at her when she responds like that. Because at first he's like, wait, she should not care about him. She should not show this emotion. But then her saying it's because the blood of Zoot runs in his vein, he's like, yeah, okay, I can see how we can use this to our advantage. As for, the way that the mole rats respond and, just even the scene where they're forcing Ellie to kneel and Trudy just says, she is no one. It's just, you can both see the discomfort, but also the pleasure of finally being in a place of control over other people's lives on her face.
Yeah, I think this was a start for me where I started hating the city. I mean, it kind of already started season 2, but the fact that these people or these kids are allowing themselves to be taken over by the Chosen is crazy. It's absolutely crazy to me.
I like that the mall has already been decorated. I love just thinking about what the Chosen are doing in the background. So this is what we've got confirmed about the Chosen. They had a trap set for the kids on the beach. Meanwhile, there was a whole decorating team that went to the mall, assured of their victory, and they started fixing up the new place. You had a horse wrangler down the beach getting Trudy ready. Like, it's just, this is one heck of a stage production these guys put on. Pretty impressive what these guys were doing.
Wasn't it you who said Jaffa must have been, in the drama club?
Total theater kid.
Yep.
He's been planning this day for so long. This is probably what they were doing to the mall when they had the mall rats, like, at the hotel. Like, that whole time, they were probably just, like, had their, their key grips and stuff, their stage hands fixing up the mall. Probably why they took them out of the mall. It makes so much sense.
And yeah, what was your first thoughts of the newly introduced character, Lieutenant Luke?
I think it's bad.
He felt interesting.
Yeah, he seems interesting. It's a whole new dynamic for the Chosen since we've been introduced to them. From the start, there didn't seem to be any particular person that Jaffa turned to. And so the idea that there is actually a rank and file in the Chosen is a new idea. And it does make sense since Jaffa doesn't do anything himself. He delegates. So I thought that was nice. I kind of wish Luke was introduced in a smarter way, because this introduction makes Luke look really incompetent at his job. He proves that he's not, and he also, Jaffa also proves that he has very little tolerance for that kind of incompetence. And this is a huge screw up that I just don't think Luke would make. So I do wish he'd been introduced better than this kind of slip up. But I do like the introduction of him. It's nice because it adds a dynamic to the Chosen.
Yeah. And you can instantly see he has another rank than just the random Chosen cards and people. His outfit is different. the way, he behaves is different. He has more of an air of confidence about him than the others. And honestly, with what we've seen of Jaffa, I'm not sure if anyone else instantly recognized him as having been part of the Locos earlier.
Oh, I did. But I was also older.
Yeah, but I really liked that. Because I was like, okay, yeah, there were these Locos, the ones that split off when Ebony seized power, and it instantly gives that little bit of connection to the earlier season. But okay, so this is where these people went. They went with Jaffa.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I did like that, and yeah, Luke seems like an interesting guy. Yeah, it made me very curious about what would happen. And he's also one of the very few other chosen to actually say something to Trudy. That's not just all hail the Supreme Mother.
There's a subtlety that I do like about this. Like the Chosen were always a mystery in season 2. They were a mystery boogeyman, and they were only given a very simple motivation for what they were doing, but we weren't really given any insight to the way they function in many ways, or we were only given little peeks, little windows into how Trudy's treated by these people, how she's viewed by these people. And this one scene, as silly as it is that Luke didn't even verify the kill properly, I do really like the subtlety in this scene. Trudy, Luke comes and just tells Jaffa they're dead, and Jaffa doesn't question it because he trusts Luke to do his job. Trudy speaks to him, and Luke barely responds to her at all, and he doesn't respond to her demand that the bodies be brought back. I thought that was a really important tidbit, introducing you to how Trudy actually functions within the Chosen. She says you have to bring those, she's the Supreme Mother. She just gave him an order, and he basically ignored it. No, you don't get to give me orders. That's not what you do here. And he looks at Jaffa. He completely just goes over her head and looks at Jaffa. Jaffa doesn't even say anything. Trudy has to go to Jaffa and basically, come up with a reason why they need to bring the bodies back. And only after Jaffa's like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Go get them. Then Luke does it. You wouldn't have assumed that with the information you gathered from season 2. So I like that. We're starting to get the curtain is starting to be pulled back on how the Chosen operate and how Trudy is actually treated within that group. Like the facade starts to fall away. The performance they put on for everybody, you get to start peeking behind the stage and how this group actually is and what Trudy's life with them actually is like. And I did really like that.
It actually made me think a bit on something Trudy said to May last season when May accused her of being like a goddess amongst them. And she was like, but it wasn't like that. And yes, she meant it when she said that. It was different than what everyone else assumed she meant by that. But still.
Yeah. She's a figurehead.
And she knows it.
But that's something I enjoy of these first opening episodes of seeing her play with the Guardian and testing the limits of her power in a way. And I kind of getting a bit ahead, but I kind of miss how quickly that was put down. I wanted more of that. Okay, let's go back to the beach for a bit.
There you go, buddy boy. It's the best we can do.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know about you, Ebony, but I got places to go and things to do.
But she can't leave. Bray's hurt.
Look, if I don't go out there and see what's happening, you and me, we could both be hurt.
Oh, you're incredible. You know that?
So Ebony arrives and rouses Lex, who helps her to carry an unconscious Bray into the woods before he abandons them and tries to get back into the city on his own. When Bray wakes, Ebony makes sure he knows that she rescued him. Bray immediately expresses regret for doubting her previous warnings about the Chosen. What did you make of Ebony rescuing them and Lex just saying bye and going off to check out the city by himself?
Lex, what did you expect?
I don't like this setup. I mean, I understand the setup. I totally love Lex, Ebony, and Bray having to work together and being the start of this rebellion. Totally love that. I don't like how they set them up together. the setup is lazy. I don't like it. It doesn't make sense that Ebony is so concerned for these two and didn't take the chance to leave. We saw her bonded so tightly with Alice, and Alice begged her to help her save the Mallrats, and Ebony was like, "Sorry, I don't like you that much. I'm out," you know. And yet, all of a sudden, she's just like, "Oh my gosh, Bray, Lex, like, I'm gonna risk getting caught and stick around to see if you guys are okay, and completely abandon my choice to get the frick out of here and come down here and save you guys." I don't, Lex, why did you bother saving Bray if you're gonna abandon him immediately? What was the point? What was the point of any of that? If you all, as soon as you're like, well, okay, got him away, I'm gonna go find my wife, and it's like, you could have just saved her on the beach. I don't like this setup. I really don't. I don't like the fact that Lex immediately wakes up as soon as, like, Ebony calls his name, and it's like, that Chosen should have seen him breathing if he was that close to consciousness. Like, and Bray, Bray, no wonder you have such, like, cognitive issues. Nobody should be this unconscious for this long. I don't even think he's unconscious. I think he's just sleeping at this point, just napping it off so he doesn't have to deal with anything.
He was tired of Danni.
Oh my gosh, I don't like the setup, but I like these three being together. Just Scotch tape and staples.
For me, it just always felt like Ebony realized he couldn't completely get out of the city because there were too many Chosen or something. Because otherwise, it does not make sense to me.
She could have easily gotten out.
You know, part of me is just hoping that she stuck around because she wanted to know what happened. She wanted to know if Jaffa would win.
She saw it with her own eyes. He did. I'm sorry. There's no rationalizing it for me.
I mean the part on the beach that she wanted to see that happening.
Yeah, sure. I can totally see her doing that and then being like, "Oh, it's just like I thought. The Chosen won, just as I predicted they would. I told these guys, they didn't listen to me. I'm out." I just can't see her sticking around. I don't make any. If there was someone she was going to stick around and help, it would have been Alice. And and it's never like she never really explains it later. It just is. She's apparently still in love with Bray, and it's like, oh, how convenient. You know, you didn't care when he was going to be killed by the Chosen, but now you do. Like,
yeah, but now all the other women are out of the picture.
Sorry,
no more competition.
If they confirmed that Danni was dead, had died there on the beach, then maybe I'd buy that.
I suppose you could put a theory that she saw Danni getting slashed.
She was like,
ooh, rubbing her hands together. This is it.
Open window.
That's what they mean with love is an open door, right?
And see, you just confirmed Danni's dead, and I'm on board with that. Totally.
Oh yeah, we will get to that because
with that
badly handled.
Like, oh, because I can totally see Ebony doing that, but you have to confirm that Danni died on the beach, and like Ebony saw it, was like, oh shoot, she ain't getting up from that.
Ooh, nice.
Just like brings out her air freshener spray and just in her mouth.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said, Lex. I hate this. I just hate the setup of everything. Like, half of these characters are staying in the mall. Bray and Lex and Ebony are this kind of team. That's, don't get me wrong, I would love to see them together, but it just doesn't fit. Doesn't make sense. I would rather have. I thought they did a really good build up with Alice and Ebony at the end of season 2, and I thought that's where they were going with it. Like, she's gonna save Alice, and then maybe Ellie's gonna get left behind or something, and then this whole conflict between them. But nope, that's not what happened at all.
I mean, I agree with that. Last season, I did say Lex should have, grabbed Alice because, well, she's useful.
Yeah, it's just nonsense. And then this whole thing, I don't know how to describe it. I just feel like the production, not only is the writing bad for at least the start of the season, but I feel like the production has gotten extremely lazy with just having all these characters in just one place, just doing, I guess, just nonsense. Or it's mostly just the secondary characters, and they're just treating Ebony, Bray, and Lex like the kings and queens that they are, I guess. I don't know. I don't like it. They should focus on Danni.
I think that may be a pitfall of a large ensemble, and you're afraid to write out some of the characters temporarily, because it seems like they don't write characters out unless the actors have to leave the show. They're not willing to just allow a character to be missing, or unless the actor has to leave, characters don't. They have to be there all the time, even if it doesn't make sense for them to always be there. And it's very rare for a character to just not be in an episode, and you notice, you're like, oh wow, I didn't see Casey this episode, or where was Ellie, or something, because it's so rare for characters to just be visually unconfirmed for an episode. And when they leave, it's very clear that an actor had to leave. Not that, oh, well, we don't really need these characters right here. We can write them out for a few for a few episodes for whatever reason. I think the writing would be tighter if they were willing to do that. But this is an ensemble, and so they're saddled with having to establish every character in every episode. And it can feel like they have nothing to do, because they don't really need to be here. I feel like some of these episodes would feel less of a slog if if the Mallrats had been kind of split up and we didn't know where some of them were. But I get it. When you're writing an ensemble, you want everyone to be there. That's the draw. But it's like, you gotta give them all something to do then. You can't just have them standing there. Visual confirmation isn't enough for the storytelling. And I think they just ended up in that trap and were never willing to try anything different or experimental with the writing.
Now you mention everyone has to be there. Was it just me, or did it feel strange to anyone else that Celine and Ryan were just suddenly standing there with a "what's going on"? It's
like they never went to the beach. Like they were still at the hotel, and that's where the Chosen grabbed them. Which that's what I assume.
I'm just wondering.
That's what I got.
Didn't see them at the beach, but I was just wondering that after everything that happened, why did they come to the mall then?
I think they were snatched up and were like, what? That's what I think seriously happened. I think they were, they didn't follow everybody else because, Ryan was probably been hurt and they were in no rush to join their friends. And
the baby news.
Celine's not thinking about anybody else than the bubble she was in. So that's what I think happened to them. They were like, we better go catch up with the others, and ran into the Chosen instead. The Chosen who were decorating the mall. No wonder they were like, what's going on? I thought we were supposed to win. You guys really dropped the ball on the beach, didn't you?
You have failed, Zoot. You have allowed his enemies to escape. You will be severely punished.
Forgive me.
It is not for me to forgive. It is for Zoot.
We see the grieving at the mall, but it's very, very, very short-lived because they more or less instantly get the news that Bray and Lex have escaped, which I personally think is a mistake. But the scene does further show the Guardian's hand at how he deals with failures when he sentenced the Chosen member to be taken away. What's your thoughts on that?
I hope he's dead.
I still wonder what he did to him, because we see him for another 15 episodes.
He should have been put to death. That would have been great.
He's amongst Jaffa's Praetorian guards later.
It's the dumbest mistake you could possibly make as a Chosen. Kill him. Just kill him, Jaffa. Throw him off the roof.
Yeah, they should have burned him alive.
I mean, that was the hint that he was sentenced to death. But yeah, obviously.
Obviously, he wasn't. But
maybe the headcanon is that he was taken away for reprogramming. It's probably not a very pleasant experience.
But yeah, I hated that the Mallrats got the news that the two were alive so quickly. Would you prefer that? Yeah, that would have left simmering. Like, why tell them straight away?
Yeah, that's another drop. Why do that right in front of the Mallrats?
Yeah. I can imagine telling Trudy, but the rest of them?
It's very strange that they would do that with an audience. I feel like Luke would know this is something that he's going to need to hear in private. Also, you could say that explains why Jaffa responds so violently, because it makes him look foolish, you know. It lessens the strength he has, the intimidation factor he has. It leaves this window of hope open for the Mallrats when they hear that their friends aren't actually dead, they're alive. It would explain why he's so pissed and needs to reassert his dominance. Then again, it could all just be a show. Maybe that's why the kid wasn't actually killed and was made a Praetorian guard. He just needed these kids to think. Because we see that Jaffa's willing to do that in the future.
Yeah.
You know, when he doesn't succeed in killing someone, he's willing to lie about it. You know, so it just adds to the whole pantomime that Jaffa is obsessed with.
Yeah, and I guess by not killing this guard, he can use that to his advantage to convince them that, see, if you repent, there are still opportunities for you.
Yeah, that's a little weird. Have we ever seen the Chosen discipline their own units? Ever?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember any of them. It would make sense that Jaffa would want people to think that a failure leads to an extreme punishment. You know, fear. Just keep people in line. But it would also make sense that he can't just kill off every Chosen that screws up, even if he's threatening to do that, because he wouldn't have any Chosen left. They screw up a lot.
I feel like you're definitely right on that. But at this point, I feel that everyone would be indoctrinated into being a Chosen, even the people who don't agree with it.
How did they respond to the person that didn't find Patsy a couple of episodes ago?
We don't know.
Huh?
We joked about it.
Yeah, we don't know.
But we don't know. That, you know, it's a double-edged sword. If you kill everybody who fails you as a leader, sure, people are going to be scared. But again, fear only lasts for so long. That kind of rulership just breeds rebellion and resentment and hatred, and people stop being scared and say, we're not going to live like this anymore. So it's better to make people think you'll do those things. He needs the Mallrats and the city kids to think he'll do those things. But he can't always do those things. He wouldn't have anybody, you know.
I'm just thinking about, but I don't think that towards those who are members of the Chosen, he can actually kill them, because he's teaching them that in death they will be reunited with the Great One.
Yeah, if anything, he would just give people lashes.
Yeah, so that would not be seen as a punishment for them, because they'd be reunited with Zoot.
Oh, or either lashes, or he'll send them to the mines, right? Isn't that what he do to people who define him?
Yeah.
He sends them off.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Terrify them with the idea of a great punishment, and then show them Zoot's mercy, blah, 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 you know.
Yeah, Zoot is merciful. And, well, I remember Patsy had to repent, so not sure in which way this guard is going to have to repent, but there must be a way.
There's no repent. They should kill him. No. You can't make that kind of mistake.
I personally would have done him in, like, making me look that foolish in front of these Mallrats right after.
Yeah, you have to fight at that point. Just fight for your honor.
Yeah, we're throwing hands. I need these Mallrats to see that. I need them to know, because you just made me look stupid.
Yeah, come on. You mistake Bray being dead. Come on. That
and now he's missing?
Punishment. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to give him a harsh punishment, at least make it seem to your Chosen that this person wasn't a true Chosen. He disgraced Zoot, so he must have been working with Bray.
If I was that Chosen, I would have been like, Luke, let's just pretend the tide took him out. Please, man. Please. Come on.
Yep.
We'll just say giant crab monsters drag their bodies away. Come on, man.
Yeah, at that point, you would just say that they're dead. You would just lie in order to keep the peace. And then you figure it out behind the scenes.
Oh my god, that's a hilarious thought about the conversation on the walk back from the beach.
Come on, Luke. Give me a solid, man.
Please, Luke.
I'll clean your boots for you.
Can you imagine Luke actually considering it? Because you have to think, Luke has to be concerned, will I be responsible for this? I was in charge of them, and I didn't confirm for myself. I didn't even go over to the bodies. Maybe we should just pretend that their bodies they're dead. Yep, they're gone, and their bodies were dragged off. Like,
Which means Luke actually realized these guys might be up to something and might be an issue, and won't just run away and leave.
At some point, one of those chosen would be like, look, we can't go back and tell him we screwed this up. We need to find 2 bodies, burn them past recognition. We gotta pull a thing on Greyjoy here, okay?
Yeah, but I think someone like Luke would have realized that it would come back to haunt him.
Yeah.
He probably realized Bray would return.
It's like, I'm throwing you under the bus, dude. Sorry.
I mean, yeah.
Hey, if you're that incompetent.
I'm not going down for this one. No.
No.
I'll beg for mercy for you later.
Oh, well, Luke tends to be in charge of punishments at some point, so...
You can only come back with the news that, they weren't dead if you have the bodies, if you have the guys. Like,
Yep.
They weren't dead, but we captured them. You know what I mean? You can't come back and be like, they weren't dead, and they're gone. That's a private conversation.
And to think, Ebony was the one. I would have just loved to see someone having to tell him, they weren't dead, but they're gone now because Ebony took them. Oh, sorry, no, we never checked. Ebony wasn't really dead. Nope, she wasn't dead either. Now we know who was responsible for confirming Ebony's dead. Must have been the same stupid guard.
Yeah, but Jaffa can't. He has that on his own shoulders. He was there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He really couldn't blame anybody for not confirming Ebony's kill. He was literally there and agreed that she's dead. She's fine. She's gone.
What's going on there?
I want out of here. I'm sick of being cooped up with a bunch of stinking mall rats.
Tough. Now sit down and shut up.
Let me see the Guardian.
What? Just who do you think you are?
I'm the leader of the gulls.
Leaders can't stay here.
Okay, yeah. Speaking of failures, this really annoyed me. Yeah, the episode fails to completely address the missing Danni, who, as you know, was with the Morats at the beach. Instead, we get to see how Jet, who is somehow back in the wall even though she was at the tribal meeting, badmouthed the Morats. She tussles with Alice and draws the attention of the Chosen, who take her away when they realise that she's a tribal leader. And as the Guardian explains later, his plan is to remove anyone who could rally the tribes. And the Morats finally wonder, what's become of Danni? What do you make of what I think is the awful handling of Danny's exit?
This is what happens when you have so much time between recording a season finale and a new season and you have a character that's leaving. You have to scramble to find a way to make it work.
But they knew she wasn't coming back.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There's a report saying that I believe her family was moving away and they gave notice.
I can't give them that. Yeah, I can't give them that. They knew she wasn't coming back, so it should have been planned better.
Yeah. They should have filmed it so we saw her die, but clearly they could not do that.
Oh, okay, I got you. Here's the thing. They just don't care about her, right? Even with characters who we've seen throughout this entire series who have left without a word, for example, like Bray, they've even managed to do some type of edit to show them at least give that kind of respect to the character. They just never liked Danni. They never respected her. And they clearly knew that the fans never respected her either. And I think that in itself is disrespectful to her character.
To agree with that.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I understand that maybe they didn't realize in season 2. I can't speculate what they knew about Danny's character going out and if she was going to be there for season 3. I don't know. But I do know that that's happened before and they've done a better job in at least wrapping up what happened, whether it's with footage, being, just even a flashback to her being hit on the beach or just dialogue expressing what has happened. We don't see Patsy leave the show, but we do get dialogue insinuating what did happen to her, and Danni deserved some sort of closure. And the fact that she's treated so haphazardly, I can't help but agree with Carlin. It's like they just didn't care and completely showed her zero respect. It doesn't make this dialogue doesn't make any sense. You guys saw her. The people who were talking about this legit saw her attacked on the beach, and they're talking like they have no clue what happened and aren't all that concerned about what happened. You don't have to like Danni to think that's messed up. It just come on, just give her an ending. Just say, I saw, have the kids confirm they saw her attacked. They do not think she survived that attack, or they didn't see her get back up, and like,
or at least that they saw them drag her away,
Saying, just confirm it, but don't be like, has anyone seen Danni? Like, Dal, you did. You saw her get bisected. Okay? You saw her, Dal. Like, it just...
Dal is supposed to be your doctor.
She can walk it off.
It's just bad, how everyone is just like, oh, what's happened to her? You're all there, you all saw what happened, and you're all acting like, what's happened to Danni? I hate it. I don't like it.
They were so busy watching Lex and Bray drive off into the sunset of sand that they didn't see.
Mind Jet being dragged off, it made sense to me because she was on the beach with them, because apparently she'd been rescued from the hotel with the others and was fighting, and then they lost, and of course she's pissed off at the Mallrats for getting them into this. I do think it's strange that she's the only, like, her and her other two girls are like the only non-Mallrats who were there. I thought there were a few more, but I get that. I think it works that she'd be pissed off, wouldn't want to be in there with the Mallrats, and then be dragged out because she's a leader. Though I do wonder why the rest of the gulls were dragged out. Yeah, they're not leaders, but I guess it works with isolating the Mallrats from everybody. So that one was fine, but yeah, the handling of Danni, is wrong. It'll always be wrong. She deserved better than that. It wouldn't take much to give her just a conclusive ending and have these guys care an ounce about that, just a little bit. Just the fact that one of your own has been killed off or something. Just anything. Even if it's just like selfishness. Like, oh my gosh, if they could kill Danni, then they can kill any of us. You know what I mean? Just anything. But there's just no response to their de facto leader likely dying on that beach or being dragged off or being killed. Just anything. Just like, oh, I don't know. Shrugs.
Yeah, just horrible.
And to never mention her again. Never mention her again. That's it. That's all she got from these guys. Why did you shove her down our throats then? This is how you were going to treat her.
Because this is how we treat women who are into Bray and are in Amber.
It's like they really thought she was going to be something special when they introduced her. They tried very hard, shoved her down our throats, and then probably saw that there was a backlash to her. The mishandling of her character, blame Danni rather than their own frickin' writing, and then we just washed our hands of her. Like, okay, that didn't work out, and it doesn't matter now because we got Beth Allen coming back. So let's just get her out of here.
And let's be real, there was a lot of backlash on Danni on the old iBoards back then.
I'm sure there was, but that's not Danny's fault. That's the writer.
Yeah, writing was just not good.
Yeah, I don't know. The show just has a horrible track record with how to handle characters that have left the show. Every single one of them. There hasn't been one positive send-off.
Well, I mean, I don't need the send-off to be positive. I just need it to be definitive and there to be a reaction to it. Paul disappears, but there's a reaction to it. It was very abrupt, and they hadn't planned for it, and doesn't sound like they handled it very well behind the scenes, but they at least incorporated that into the writing.
Yeah.
Patsy has a reaction to her brother going missing. The others are trying to find this little boy who went missing and can't take care of himself. There is a consequence to his disappearance. Amber and Zandra, they die. It's abrupt. They probably didn't plan for it, but they made it work. The characters react to this sudden death of two of their dearest, and so it's like you can make it work. It doesn't have to be a positive send-off, but it should be conclusive and have an impact on the characters. And Danny's send-off has none of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much. Just acknowledge, okay, how would this character's disappearance affect the other characters, and write it. You don't even have to know what happened to a character to include that.
No, because just a simple, they dragged her away, and, questioning what Jaffa had done to Danny, that would have been something.
I'm pouring one out for you, Ella Wilkes.
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest things that I would want as a Tribe fan is an interview, either with Ella Wilkes as Danny to really discuss about her character and what happened on the show and then her departure, or someone needs to interview Ray and just ask him about Danny, because we know you don't like her character, but why don't you like her?
I would prefer the Ella Wilkes interview.
I was going to say.
I feel like at least.
Well, I want both.
I feel like I'd get the more of the truth coming from her. I'm not saying that Ray's a liar. I don't know. I'm just saying that in my experience, creators tend to spout a lot of BS, especially years after the fact. They spin something, and I would rather listen to the actor who has no reason to lie and nothing on the line to just tell me what went down. I would rather that.
That's pretty much all we're gonna get for Danny until like the one line by Amber later on in the season.
It's like I'm sorry. It was just like when you said that, it made me realize there's like a quota of the least amount you can possibly do to acknowledge a character's existence, and that's what they did. Like Ray should at least say one line about her. Just one line. That's the least we can do. That's the least we're gonna do.
I'm imagining a check box in the meeting room. Is like, okay, one line. That's it. We've done. Check off.
That means somebody was arguing against it.
Yeah.
Somebody did not want to, and they had to literally bargain it out over the writer's table. Just give me one line to acknowledge her. One line. Fine. You get one line. Fine.
One line.
And I never want to hear her name again.
From now on, those who transgress will be severely punished. Those who obey and show themselves worthy will earn the right to join the chosen. Until then, you will be treated as slaves and put to work. First, you must join me in giving thanks to Zoot. Neil, you. What's your name?
My name is Tai San.
Why do you not kneel?
I do not worship false gods.
So, the hungry Morats start a protest as they demand food, but the Guardian tells them that they have to earn it, starting by repenting and kneeling to Zoot. They reluctantly do so, and in Ellie's case, she's forced to by Jack, but Tai San, of course, stands firm, causing the Guardian to take notice of her, and he refuses food to the entire tribe until she can obey. So let's focus on that. What did you make of the Guardian's demand and his solution to Tai San's refusal?
From his point of view, I get why he wants them to pray to Zoot first. From his point of view, it makes sense because it's something they want, and it's an easy way to convince people because, he's gotten many people to cross over to the Chosen because he would feed them. So that being a first option, I get that. As for Tai San, instantly going, nope, I don't worship false gods, good for her. I would have actually been disappointed if she had gone along with it. So, it fits for her.
I think it's a really nice moment. It's one of the bright spots in this episode. Because I do like most of the stuff at the mall. I like the, exposition of setting the stage of what their life is going to be like now. This is what's going on, for especially a premiere to get you in and be like, okay, this is the rundown. I thought they handled it really well at the mall for the most part. And I really love that moment between Tai San and Jaffa. Just the simple, again, We're seeing that continuing behavior of the chosen and how they convert. You know, it's a small concession. You're hungry. I wouldn't deny you food. You'd be denying yourself food. All you got to do is get on your knees. That's all. Not a big deal, you know. And most people wouldn't see it as that big of a deal. Like, I'm hungry. Fine, whatever. I'll get on my knees. That's all I have to do. That's how you pull people in. I like that. You know, he's calmed down. Probably, you know, got it out of his system whipping that other guy. And I really love that confrontation between him and Tai San. You know, like him noticing her and not lashing out, but actually just curious. And instead of like punishing her or getting violent or anything like that to try and scare these kids, he turns them against her by saying, well, okay, that I respect that you don't do that thing, but until you do, your friends won't eat. And you can even see it on Tai San's face, like, it's not what I was hoping. I'm not trying to screw my friends over. You can see the way she looks down, like, like she wasn't trying to do anything like that. She was just speaking for herself, and it was a smart move on his point because his whole goal is to rip the Mallrats apart internally, and this was a really smart way to go about it. Yeah, I really like that moment.
And it shows he wants to suss out if there's anyone who would dare to stand against him.
And how they stand against him.
You know, who would dare to say no. Yeah, and you know, and you see Alice, you know, cooperating because she has seen what happens to people who tell him no. And well, not just herself, but she doesn't want to see her little sister thrown off any buildings. So yeah, I get why everyone else cooperates, although I also get why Ellie would want to go against it at first. But yeah, Tai San's refusal is fitting, and his response to that, and you know, you can see it in his eyes. He has that tiny bit more respect for her because she doesn't instantly comply, because she's shown she's not as easily convinced by something as trivial as food.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the way she doesn't comply.
Yeah.
She doesn't get violent. She doesn't scream and shout. She does not name call. She's very calm, you know, and she's fearless as she does it. And you can see that intrigues him about her. And even her reason for why. It's not, I won't be bossed around. You know, you can't tell me what to do. You're crazy. It's just, I don't worship false gods. And it's like, huh, that's interesting. I haven't heard that one before, you know? And so, yeah, I it's a good moment to set off why she immediately captures his attention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the Guardian is attracted to, or let's say drawn towards Tai San, is because there's so much conflict there. To meet someone who is kind of against your beliefs, but has good reasons why. Whereas everyone else is just like, oh, you're just evil, you're just this and that, and they don't really explain themselves too well. But Tai San has like almost her own philosophy on why he's wrong, and he's intrigued by that.
It helps that she's hot.
That too. I was gonna say I think he likes her.
It helps. I'm saying.
But if we're saying that, then hold on. Why isn't he attracted to Alice?
I think it's because of her. It's her behavior. Yeah, but he wanted to convert Alice too. He liked her strength of character as well.
So he really likes everyone. I see what you're saying.
She's just too rowdy for him, you know.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Tai San has
all his hair.
Tai San has this like quiet. You know, he's like, ooh, okay, a lady in the streets.
I know exactly what you're saying, Liz. I want to say something, but I don't know if it's appropriate enough.
Oh, look, Ellie, babe.
I'm not your babe.
Okay, look, I didn't want you to get hurt. I mean, who knows what those crazies might do?
They didn't do anything to Tai San.
Man, they could have. Okay, look, Ellie, I'm sorry, but I only did it because I...
Because what?
Because I care about you. Okay?
Okay, yeah. Following directly from that, Ellie confronts Jack about his actions, but she does relent when he explains that he only did it because he cares about her. While May has a go at Tai San, only to apologize after Alice intervenes and reminds her that Tai San's actually suffering too, as Lex is missing. So yes, just briefly, yeah, what did you make of the confrontations going on here?
It's a good illustration that even if everyone agrees they need to fight against something, they can't all agree on how they should do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're all on the same side right now. They don't want to be here. They're not on board with the Chosen. They don't want to do what the Chosen are asking of them. But they can't agree on, well, what's the best method about going against these guys, And I just think that's the sort of divisions you're going to see in a group this large.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just a very realistic kind of clash of personalities and, Ellie and Jack, it's establishing, like, maybe you weren't paying attention in season 2. Maybe you didn't see season 2. This is your first episode. It immediately establishes the connection between Ellie and Jack. It establishes that Ellie, she's got a lot of fire and she wants to fight back. And Jack is like, no, I think we need to be more compliant. That's going to set the stage for what comes next for those two. It establishes that May is likely going to be the first one to break, because you can see that she's just like, but at the same time, she doesn't hate these people. She thinks of them as her friends. And that's why she calms down so quickly when Alice is like, yo, chill. And she apologizes. It's a good establishment of the mind frame, the emotional state these people are in for what's coming down the pipe. So I think it does a good job with that.
Yeah, it does. I mean, for May to get mad that she's hungry, and in her point of view, that's Tai San's fault right now. Because the Guardian was going to feed them, but because of what Tai San did, she ain't getting any food. And I get why, Alice's words have an effect on May, because, she's suffering, Lex is missing, and yeah, May gets that Tai San cares about Lex, She gets it, and sure, yeah, sorry, But yeah, for me, it's logical in a group like this. And as for Ellie and Jack, we always knew Ellie wanted to, follow what she feels is right, even though it's not the safest thing to do or the smartest thing to do. So I'm glad that Jack actually stopped her from, going against the Guardian at that point. Because, let's face it, she was already threatened in the beginning of this episode. So if she would have opened her big mouth, there's quite a good chance that she would not have made it.
It establishes the fragility of their emotional state and their bonds.
Yeah.
And it also is an illustration of exactly why Jaffa chose this form of punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Because instead of being mad at him, cursing him out, talking about how the Chosen suck, a lot of, they're immediately looking at Tai San like, thanks a lot, Tai San. Like you said, he was gonna feed us, and then you had to suddenly become all righteous and couldn't, thanks a lot,
Yeah, they didn't feed us because of you.
Like, okay.
May says it perfectly. I'm not denying myself food. You are.
It's a good follow-up, because at least, again, it's following up to what happened to these guys in season 2 and how their bonds were fractured then by everything that was happening and the way they treated each other and, one action after another. They're not very strong together right now. They may be together, and again, they may be on the same side, but season 2 didn't make them a stronger group. It didn't really cement their bonds as it should have. Instead, it fractured those bonds, and there's a consequence to that, because as we see, season 3 sets them up as this is going to be really hard for them to stay solid as a unit and work together.
Mm-hmm. It is nice to see Alice instantly defending Tai San, though.
Alice is like, if anyone's going to be mad at Tai San, it's me.
Yeah?
The rest of you back off. She's my space cadet, okay?
She's like, okay, I don't have to worry about my sister right now. Jack's taking care of that one for me. So I guess I'll watch this one.
Yeah, just a lot of missed opportunities for me. I just wish I could see these characters just in different locations. Like some are out in the farm working, some are here at the mall, some are, at a prayer or something.
Yeah, but it's that early after they were captured, so
I understand
they'll
that.
already be split up like that in this first episode.
I don't. want to get into my theories, but it would just make sense for me if the Guardian would just look at them and like, well, out of everyone in the city, these mall rats are dangerous, right? They have plans, they're organized. I would split them up just for the sake of it. But
I agree.
Yeah, but he needs to suss out which mall rats are dangerous and which mall rats,
they're mall rats.
Can easily
matter.
be converted. Yeah, but there's some that can easily be. Come on.
If I was the Guardian, I would clearly just kill them off. But that's simple.
that would send a message. But another message would be, okay, look, I've managed to turn these mall rats to my side. I've turned them to the dark side. Everyone can see how mighty we are because we even convinced those mall rats to bow down to Zoot.
I agree with you.
There's some status in that, and I think he wants to suss out who can be turned first.
I agree with you. Normally, in a situation like this, fear is the best power, and you want people to notice that. But when you live in a city full of stupid people, I don't think that matters. People will follow whoever.
I think in this beginning, especially this being the premiere episode where everything needs to be established, I do think them being together does make sense given what the Guardian's initial goal is for the Mallrats. As Sabine says, his initial goal is to convert as many of the Mallrats as possible. So he has that feather in his cap to show the whole city. I mean, there's a reason they're living in the mall. It wouldn't be my first choice, if I was going to take over the city.
Especially not with a hotel there.
Exactly. You were at the hotel. Like, that would be the best place to take. But the mall is symbolic. Taking it over, living inside of it, completely, redecorating it, and keeping the tribe there prisoner. It's all symbolic. So keeping them together so he can suss them out and see who can be broken, it makes sense here in the beginning. It won't make as much sense later, but right now it does. Yeah. And he does separate them. He does use separation as a way to mess with their psyche. But I agree with Harlan in that later on it would have made way more sense to separate them more and ship them off to different places. But for this episode, I think it works.
Yeah, and as for them choosing them all for now, though, a place like a hotel would have more appeal. The mall is holy ground. This is where Zoot died. This is where the divine child was born. So religiously, it has significance.
Basically, they're Jerusalem.
Yeah.
They've taken back the holy city. Oh, wow. It just occurred to me. They actually set up their, that space where the market stalls are. And they set up like the little throne, and that's where they tell their stories and all that stuff like that, and have their chosen meetings. That is literally where Zoot landed when he died. Yeah. That's like consecrated ground.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Imagining being Trudy and having to sit there every time.
Yeah, it looks like she got over that a while ago.
Oh, well.
I don't think that's impacted her core as much.
I don't think she's thought about it at all.
Well, maybe it's Bray anyway, so yeah, it's true.
Exactly. We've never seen Bray sit there contemplating, staring at the chalk outline of his brother.
Plus, they didn't want to build any more sets.
Yeah, that's a fact.
The mall's a great set. You don't want to waste that.
Plus, it
sets a precedent for what keeps happening.
Yeah, but right now it gives it a little bit of.
I agree. It does make a lot more sense now, but it just sets a dangerous precedence.
But for now, it's like this big FU against the Mallrats. Look, we've won. We've taken you guys over, and now we're living in your home. You have nothing. You are nothing.
I do like the setup, how they bring them back to their home and then just make them all sleep out by the fountain.
Yeah.
And make them their own food.
I thought that was interesting. Just that setup right there. Like, the Chosen who just stand guard over them all night. And that's when I thought it was weird that they thought they could just go up to the cafe and get breakfast. I'm like, you really think these guys are gonna let you? They made you sleep on the floor out by the fountain all night. What makes you think they're gonna let you go up to the cafe and get breakfast? You guys are a little bit in denial about your situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads us to our final thoughts of the episode.
We're not gonna get very far. Not with him in that state.
We will. We just have to take it easy.
He's right, Ebony. It's no use.
Look, there's 3 of us now. Lex comes along. He can help you.
I ain't going nowhere.
But we need you.
Tai San needs me. I'm going back to rescue her.
Oh, yeah? And how do you plan to do that?
So unable to get past the Chosen, Lex returns to find Bray and Ebony. And as the Chosen get closer, they decide to hide Bray and lead the Chosen away from him. But when they return later, they find that Bray has vanished. Could it have been something to do with the mysterious man that we see? Yeah, so what do you think of that final cliffhanger?
First of all, I get why Bray was like, just leave me, you guys run, they're gonna catch me anyways. And then they decide to hide him like this. I mean, come on, anyone who searched a tiny bit would have found him. But for a moment when they returned, I did wonder if Bray didn't just give himself up, be able to get back to Danni, and give them a better chance of escaping.
Well, we all know how important Bray is.
Mm-hmm.
So this had to be all about Bray, who's so injured that they can't even get away, despite the fact that the Chosen not only left the beach, went back to the mall, reported them dead, and then they had so much time to get away.
Yes. Every time you get hit on the head, it takes longer to come out of it, especially if you're Bray.
Bray can't walk. He these 2 are lugging a sack of potatoes. I can't get over the fact that they made no distance whatsoever by the time the Chosen return, realize the guys are gone, and then have to start searching. Because think about the logistics. When Luke returns to pick up the bodies, he still only has, 4 or 5 Chosen with him?
Mm-hmm.
Because they were only going to be carrying 2 bodies. They didn't need a whole bunch of people. So when they discovered the bodies weren't there, they had to go back to the mall, report that to Jaffa, and then go back to the beach with a search party. And Bray and Ebony still didn't get away, and Lex still didn't manage to... I'm sorry, I don't understand why they weren't able to get out of that vicinity with all of that time.
Yep.
I mean, Lex didn't wanna.
I get Lex not being able to go back to the mall. I get that. I get him, abandoning.
And I get him wanting to try,
I totally get that. And being like, oh crap, I can't get back to the mall. But that's not what he says. He says the area they're in was crawling with Chosen. He acted like he never was able to get off the beach. And it's like, you would have gotten off the beach, Lex. Why didn't you just say, the city is full of Chosen, I can't get anywhere near the mall, and that's why you came back? But they act like the forest where they are is just got an army of Chosen, and it's like, no, it wouldn't have. You would have made some distance. You could have gotten to a building. You could have holed up somewhere. I don't think this was handled very well. It's not believable for me that they couldn't get further away, because they had so many patches of time where they could have, and they've made 0 progress. And how long of a nap do you need, Bray? I do recall thinking that the mystery man was the one responsible for Bray disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
First time I saw this. Because this was actually season 3 was my real introduction to the show. It was the only season I actually got to watch while it was playing. I had a year before, I had seen a couple of reruns of season 1, thought, oh my gosh, this is so cool. But it took me like a year before I found the show again. And when I found it, season 3 had just started playing, which was freaking awesome. So I was just like, oh, it's a show, cool. And I was, trying to remember what I had, from what I'd seen a year before. And yeah, I just kind of fell in head first to what was going on. I was like, okay, I don't know who all these people are, but I think that dark-haired guy is the reason he's not there anymore. I think he dragged him off.
See, I never thought that. All I thought was, ooh, a guy with long hair. Now that's interesting. I don't know. I instantly liked Pride when I saw him. I was like, there's something mysterious about him, and he doesn't look like he's part of the Chosen. I just found him intriguing. But yeah, it's just for me, it was just oh, Bray has given himself up, and I never suspected anyone else having anything to do with that other than Bray just trying to be the hero, even if he couldn't walk, just to get back.
Yeah, none of this made sense. I don't know why they left him there. Yeah, it makes no sense.
Well, I mean, the plan was they couldn't carry him any longer because he was
Mhm.
useless as ever. And they thought, we'll draw the Chosen away from you. We'll take him on a merry chase. That was the plan. And it clearly didn't work because finally a Chosen knew how to look for something.
Hence, see, and that makes me think Bray just went, "Hi guys, I'm here. They've hidden me here. Please take me home."
I think it's a nice mystery, because I was like, where did he go? I remember like tuning in each week because man, it only aired on Fridays. It was so hard. And I remember locked down and being just like, where did he go? Oh my gosh, is it this dark hair guy or did the Chosen get him? Because it took a while before the Chosen revealed that they had taken him. And I thought it was a pretty cool mystery. Like, where'd he go? What happened? Did he crawl off? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't hide him very well. Bray was like, nah, I don't think so. I'm too important for this.
Take me to your leader.
Take me to your leader. Do you have any aspirin? My ankle hurts. How did you get so wounded, Bray? Like, Lex was in the front. Took the brunt of the crash. He doesn't have a bruise on him. He's fine. He's running around. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, but Lex is used to taking a hit. And Bray's just used to being a pretty boy.
Bray's got bones of glass. I don't like he and Ebony's makeup scene. I don't like her suddenly fawning all over him and him just being like, I should have listened to you. I'm so sorry. And
Yeah, that sucked. Boo.
I can understand Bray, eating a little bit of crow because, clearly Ebony was right. But it doesn't undo any of the other anger or frustration he would have had at her. When I think about Bray, I think of him having more of a righteous anger at Ebony, thinking like almost I don't know. I just don't see him immediately capitulating and being like, you were right along. We should have listened to you.
Yeah, but Bray always wanted to see the good in Ebony and then to have Ebony save him.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If he wanted that, he would have been with her. He would have been with her in season 2 and left Danni.
Yeah, but
no, it just feels like they want to erase the dark path they took Ebony on in season 2. They just want to erase all because they took her to some messed up places, and that's fine. I think that's awesome. Ebony was great. You could honestly say she was a star of season 2, and but it's like you can't take a character there and then just act like none of that happened or had any effect on the people around them. Bray shouldn't be so quick to just forget everything. But it's like the writers want to forget everything Ebony did and what she put people through in season 2 by just immediately having these two make up like it wasn't an issue because they have a new stupid conflict for Bray and Ebony to be in.
Yeah,
it's coming down the
and
pipe.
they need to be in a slightly better place for him to fully be mad at her for that.
That's what so much of this feels like. It's all for the dumb story point that is coming up. So everybody is put in these places just for that story point alone because that's going to be their big dramatic thing. And it's like, you didn't need that to be the big dramatic thing. You could have still played with some of the dramatics that have already been established. And frankly, I think that plot point would have been more interesting if you had done that. But instead, they just try to simplify everything as if people can only have one conflict at a time. I'm not going there yet. No, it didn't happen yet. It's okay. You're safe, Elizabeth. I'm just saying, it feels like erasure of like what's come before. Like we'll just pretend that Ebony didn't do those terrible things, and Bray is totally cool with her now, and it makes Bray seem dumb. It just makes him seem like his emotions don't matter, and it erases every point he's ever had and the things he's said to Ebony and the things he's felt about Ebony. I'm sorry, you need more than her rescuing him from the wreck for him to just be like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Are you seriously apologizing to her?
That's how Bray gets when you hit him over the head with anything.
It's like, yeah, it was like a reset button for him.
It's knocking the sense out of him, the actual sense.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. It's just like, let's reset these two. I don't like where this game has gone, and we don't want to take any responsibility for where we've taken this game. Reset, start over.
Reboot.
Yep. And that's where Ebony and Bray are, and I don't like it.
Yes, Lance, we have to talk about it.
Let's touch on it. Because we can't avoid it, because as we get to the end credits, obviously I was first disappointed because we suddenly got a repeat of Abba Messiah. I was all looking forward to a new end credit theme. But within this, we see some surprising scenes, which include Amber back from the dead. Yeah, like, did any of you remember what your initial thoughts were when you originally watched it and you saw her back?
Yes, my initial response being, what the actual hell is going on here? But she was dead. Why is she back? And, well, it instantly made me fear that we would never see Danni again. Because as much as I hated Danni, I hated Bramber more.
Yeah, it wasn't deserving.
It was just...
wasn't deserving. And you know what? I just talked to a tribe fan the other day, and they were telling me, you're like, you know what? After all this time, I kind of wish Amber just stayed dead because it kind of ruined everything.
Yeah, I just don't do well with characters returning from the dead. And, you know, I'd prefer to think dead is dead.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it confused me and it annoyed me to see a scene like that in end credits. Because after that, every moment in the next episodes, I was just wondering, okay, but we saw Amber, so where is she? And why is she wearing those feathers?
Shot of Beth, who looks great, by the way. I'm glad to see you, Beth. I love you. If the writers hate Trudy, they worship Amber.
Yeah.
Why else would you spoil her return in the season premiere? Like, this is all about Amber. Now, again, I don't know what happened when Beth left and when Beth came back, but it is obvious these showrunners were so ecstatic to have her back, so happy to continue the Bramber storyline, because everything about the setup with Lex, Bray, and Ebony, and the disregard of Danni is all about Amber's comeback. It's all paving the road to make it just about Bray and Amber. You know what I mean? Everything they're doing is just for this. And that's why we don't talk about Danni, because we don't want a conflict of romantic interest. No, you know, we can't have Bray's feelings actually be in genuine conflict over Amber's return. So everything has been paved for her return. And yeah, it's like, it's just really lacking all subtlety there. I can't say I was spoiled by it because I didn't know she had died. For me,
was it
well, if you had watched all the way through, it would have been a spoiler.
It was
just
for
being
me.
said. You would have been like, "Wait a minute, what the heck is going on? She's dead."
It was.
Yeah.
If you watch the seasons in order, yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm a new Tribe fan. People don't know. I started watching like 2020. So when I was watching them in order, I thought she died. So I was just like, all right, yeah, they're never bringing her back. But there's like, oh, there's someone that's like taking the identity of Amber. Oh, this sounds interesting. And then when I saw her, I didn't even think that was actually her. I thought it was a lookalike. I was like, there's no way.
Okay. I was like, how did you, what? Carly, the way your mind works.
No cloning, honey.
No, but like honestly, when season 3 started, or let's say when I first started season 2 and I saw that she died, I remember I was listening to the Tribe soundtrack, and the Tribe soundtrack had a photo of Beth Allen, older, being Amber, and I was like, huh, she's that popular that they brought her back to do some more photos for the album.
Oh, you're so
and I was
naive.
like, yeah, that must have been such a mistake for them to kill her off. And then when I saw it in season 3, I was like, there's no freaking way. Why would they do that? Why would they bring her back like that?
For me, I did recognize her though. I remember that because again, I'd only seen 2 episodes of season 1, and then I start watching the show a year later, and season 3 has just started, and they're playing reruns of season 1 and 2, and they were just at the tail end of season 2. Okay, so that was on daily, and then weekly I'd get season 3. So I'm trying to piece all these characters together from what I remembered from those 2 episodes of season 1. So when I saw Danni in season 2, I was like, I thought that girl was blonde. Because again, I didn't remember their faces. You know what I mean? And I was just like, I guess she dyed her hair. I just thought Danni and Amber were the same person. Because, you know, Danni's with Bray and the way she behaved, and I only had seen 2 episodes. The same way I thought KC was Paul. I was just a little confused about that. And then when the reruns of season 1 started, I was like, I see the actual Amber, and I was like, oh wait, they're different people. Oh my gosh. So what happens to her? Where did she go? Why did the brunette come in? And then of course they show that she's coming back in season 3. What's going on? Very different experience for me.
Yeah, see? It is. It is different when you assume she's dead. She was killed in Eagle Mountain, and suddenly she's standing there. And my brain just went, nope.
Give him credit for this, even though I wouldn't have spoiled the return of a dead character in my credits like that, not immediately. I will say it would have made me keep watching, like if it were me.
Yeah.
Because, for example, the credits for season 4 made me want to watch even when it was painful, because some of that stuff looked really interesting and I wanted to know the context for the scenes in the credits.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, oh my gosh, this looks like it might be amazing. And then when it wasn't, I was like, I'm going to hold on a little longer. It looks like it could be good. So,
yeah, but see, I always had issues with scenes at end credits because, I mean, we see Bray and Trudy holding that baby above a cliff, yet we never see it in a show.
I kept holding on for those scenes.
Yeah.
Holding on for those scenes.
Yeah.
I was like, when did they happen?
End credits have always been a mess.
I don't watch the end credits at all.
For all the time, I assumed we would see that happening, and I was like, but when's that happening? When are they gonna hold the baby above a cliff and go full Lion King? It was just so end credits confuse me, especially when, you know, Amber did happen, and that scene eventually never did. At least not in the series.
Yeah. For how much I watch TV, I know to just, whenever I'm starting a new show, I stay away from intro, at least for like the first episode. The intro, end credits, and all that jazz. I never watched the music videos until like season 4. And I'm glad I didn't, because that was just confusing. I'm like, oh, Lex and Ebony are going to hook up.
I think I would have been excited by that spoiler, but that's because I'm not bothered by spoilers that much. But because I'm like, okay, I know she's alive, but I'd be excited about like, well, how are they going to explain this? I want to know. And then I would have been disappointed when I found out, but like the spoiler wouldn't have bothered me. I would have just been super excited to figure out like, when is this going to happen and how is she alive?
Yeah, I like Amber a lot more now than I did when I first watched it, because, you know, she got everything at first with Bray, and, you know, so it was weird.
I know, she was the antithesis to your Trudy. I get it.
Exactly, but it's, you know, so I was like, but why? And I just kept feeling, but she's dead. Why are they bringing her back if she's dead?
Should have stayed dead.
I don't necessarily have a problem with dead characters coming back. I think it can be done well, but I think most of the time it's not. And when it's not done well, it can detract from what the death had meant to the characters who were affected by it. It can steal that thunder. And it just seems like very few TV shows and movies want to bring a character back from the dead and do the work to get them there and show the impact that actually would have on people. And so I'm not like anti characters can't come back from the dead. It's just, if you're gonna do it, recognize what you're taking on and handle it. You gotta do it right. You gotta finesse that, you know. And Unfortunately, most of the time they don't.
I do recall just wondering, oh no, I hope they're not gonna make her have amnesia or something like that.
Would have been better off.
I was just going to say, like, has any show actually done a returning character back from the dead well? That you know?
I thought Zoot as an AI was perfectly done.
Oh, stop.
Honestly.
we are not talking about that.
Listen to me. They gave me exactly what I wanted.
There's one show I think might have, but keep in mind, I haven't watched the show in a very long time, so this is based on what I remember feeling at the time. Buffy the Vampire Slayer killed off Buffy and then brought her back. And I recall it was not a happy experience. It was actually very dramatic and horrible for Buffy to be brought back from the dead. And in like that one, it was literal. She hadn't like, oh, we thought you were dead. She died and was brought back from the dead. And instead of it being this joyous thing, it was actually horrible because in death, Buffy had found peace and like had found an end to this endless fight of being the Slayer. And suddenly she was alive again and it was all back, you know? And I thought they handled that pretty well. Like, you know, they actually confronted what would that be like to have someone come back from the dead? How would that affect them? How would it affect the people around them? So that's the only example I can think of off the top of my head.
I could name plenty of characters, but we don't have the time for it. That have
Well,
done
he
well.
said that did it well, not just
did it well. Yeah, I can name plenty of characters.
What, that died and came back? Well,
Darth Maul.
Fair enough.
His nose, like that was lit.
Fair enough. Okay, I'll give you that one.
We love Darth Maul. Yeah, well,
it's very rare. It's done.
We don't have the time.
Well,
I was gonna start naming some Dragon Ball Z characters.
Oh my god! It's supposed to be good examples.
Those are good examples. We needed Goku.
To be fair, I do remember that because that was one of the few shows that I'd already watched back then that did that. Yeah, I'm just thinking if there's any good things they did because you had Phil Coulson in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that came back from the dead, but it wasn't. Yeah.
There are countless of seasons where they've brought back on Power Rangers that were amazing.
I think there's a difference between a good resurrection, whether the person was dead or not, or just thought to be dead, and something that the audience can just accept. Just because you can accept that a character is back from the dead and be okay with it doesn't mean they did it well.
Yeah.
So I do think that comes into play. You yourself may have been like, oh, I'm cool with that explanation, but it doesn't mean they did a good job bringing that person back from the dead. You're okay with it.
Like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
Fine, So maybe it's a personal thing, but when it comes to writing, I do think you can dissect whether the writing handled it, regardless of how the audience received it.
But yeah, we will get into the nitty gritty of Amber's return in another episode. But I mean, just to close that off, like, what were do you know what your original thoughts were about having the end credits be the same? Like, I'm a big buff of like intro and end credits. Like, what were your thoughts?
Part of me was sad that we didn't get new end credits. Another part of me felt it meant that we would still continue for a longer period of time with, the Chosen storyline. So that part of me was pleased.
I think if they had changed the music for season 3, I would have just accepted that's what they were doing every season, and season 4 wouldn't have been so jarring to me. But because seasons 2 and season 3 had the same outro music, I thought, oh, season 1 was just a fluke, and they landed on this. This is their banger. They found it. And when you got a banger of a theme song, you stick with it. You know what I mean? So I think it's like they needed to make up their mind. Were you gonna change it every season, or were you gonna stick with one? You can't go different song this season, same song these 2 seasons, another different song. For me, that was jarring. I was like, what? Why did you change the music now? If you change it every season or just stick with one song. I know that's a stupid thing to be like hung up on.
No, I get it.
It really bothered me. I was like, where's my Abba Messiah? What the frick is this?
Yeah, they should have changed it up. They need new music.
You've trained me now. I'm Pavlov's dog. That's a song I associate with the show. And now you've changed it. You can't do that to me. I think it might have been beneficial if season 3 had its own theme music. But I get it. Abba Messiah is a banger, you know?
It's a certified hood classic. They'll never get rid of it.
It's good. So I can understand why do we need a new one? This is great. And season 2 is also when like the albums came out and all that music was popular. And I think I read somewhere that they didn't even know the show was popular in season 2 until they realized it had like gone overseas and other places, and it was huge in those places. And so yeah, like I get why they didn't change it at the time.
Okay, cool. That brings season 3, episode 1 to a close. Thank you very much to the panel. And if you'd like to take part in a future episode of the podcast, please send us a message on our Facebook page or on our website, thetribe.co.uk. We'll see you next time for episode 2. Until then, bye.
Bye.
Later days.
Bye.